Okay, thank you very much, Jonathan, and good morning, everyone. I suspect that when many of you looked at the agenda for today's conference, you saw the agenda item for Tim Coleshaw and thought, who's he? Because not only am I new to the chair role in BDS, but I'm also a relatively new trustee as well. So we thought that today would provide a good opportunity for me to just tell you a little bit about my background, but also about some of the initiatives that the BDS will be undertaking over the next few years. But before that, I'd just like to pay tribute to my predecessor, Brian Walker, who was chair of the BDS for 7 years in a formal capacity, but for many years before that in a sort of caretaker role. Brian has also been acting as our treasurer for many years, and he's been the line manager of most of the staff. So he's performed a really critical role, and we'd really like to thank you, Brian, for everything that you've done for the BDS over the last few years. And of course, Brian is still continuing as our treasurer, so he's still very much involved, but hopefully has a little bit more time for himself nowadays. So just to introduce myself, as I said, I'm new to the trustee role, and I've literally only been undertaking the chair role for a matter of weeks now. So if you've got any questions later on, please treat me gently. I'm recently retired from a career in nature conservation, firstly with the National Trust in England, but then latterly with English Nature and Natural England, where for most of my time I was managing national nature reserves, which included Chartley Moss, which many of you will know as, I think, probably still the prime English site for white-faced darter. But then in the latter part of my career, I managed the National Nature Reserve team across the West Midlands of England. So although I haven't been involved directly with the BDS, I've been really working alongside the Society for quite a long time, because about 20 years ago, when the BDS appointed its first English conservation officer, English Naturers was provided office space and office facilities for the British Dragonfly Society. So I've actually worked alongside, and for most of the time sat next to, the English Conservation Officer, right back to the days when Charlie Murray was in post. So I guess I've sort of picked up a pretty good understanding of how the BDS works over that time. So it seemed a natural thing for me to get a little bit more involved when I had a bit more free time on my hands. So I think I come to the chair role at a very interesting time in our history. The natural environment is obviously very high on the agenda at the moment for all the wrong reasons. And wildlife, including dragonflies, is under enormous pressure. But this is also a time for opportunity. And as government speak, sort of hopefully converts into actions, hopefully there are going to be big initiatives across the UK to repair damaged wetlands, improve water quality, improve water quality, and restore our peatlands. And of course, there are opportunities for dragonfly conservation in all of those initiatives, and we need to be positioned to play our part in that. And as Jonathan says, hopefully on a bigger scale. So I just want to share with you a few slides just showing what we've been doing with the trustees over the last couple of years to sort of prepare ourselves to deliver this agenda. So hopefully so can you all see my screen?
It says you've started screen sharing, but certainly on my end, all I can see is a blank screen.
Okay, it's telling me I've paused. What's happened there?
Oh, here you go. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, thanks, Andrea. So one of the things that we've been doing over the last 18 months or so is to develop a new strategy for the British Dragonfly Society. that will provide a bit of direction for trustees and staff over the next 5 years. It's been an exercise where we've consulted the membership, so thanks to all of you who took part in the members questionnaire. That helped us considerably in shaping the strategy, and thank you also to those of you that took part in the specific discussion we had about BDS in Scotland, which also was very useful. So the strategy has 4 main aims for the society, one covering conservation work, one covering our science recording monitoring side, one covering our public engagement, and then the 4th aim is all about the values of the society, how we engage with and manage our members, our volunteers and our staff. And then each of those aims has a whole series of objectives. All of this is available to see on the website if you want to have a look at it. But then sitting underneath the objectives, we have an internal document, which is basically a pretty simple spreadsheet, which lists all the projects that we need to undertake to deliver the strategy over the next 5 years. It timetables the projects, and it assigns resources in terms of staff and the money that we need to deliver those projects. So hopefully we've got a framework here that will shape our work over the next few years. To deliver that, we've been consolidating our staff team, and here we've got 2 of our new staff members, Lauren Kennedy on the right and Jess Slight on the, Lauren Kennedy on the left and Jess Slight on the right. Lauren's post isn't a new one. Lauren is our new engagement officer, and she's taken over the role that Fiona McKenna was covering until last summer when she moved on. But then Jess's job is a new one. So Jess has come in to take over membership duties for the society, which for many years have been undertaken by Lynn Curry, who's now stepping down. So Jess will be covering membership. She'll also be covering sort of day-to-day financial work for the society, and providing administration for the whole staff team. And then the other thing that we've done with the staff is we've brought all staff management together into the capable hands of Sarah Miller, who was formerly our grants officer, but now has become staff manager as well. And I think I should say at this point that I think we're incredibly fortunate that we've got such an energetic, enthusiastic and capable staff team. Every single member is doing a really fantastic job. We've also broadened our trustee base in the last 12 months. 4 new trustees have joined the board, and sort of breaking tradition with the past, all of these have come from outside the British Dragonfly Society. So going from left to right, we have Josh Unspoor, who works for the policy division in DEFRA, Mike Lihan, who's a retired professor of entomology from Bangor University, Carmel Edwards, who works in policy for the Worldwide Fund for Nature, and Bailey Tate, who is campaigns manager for the Essex Wildlife Trust. So very different backgrounds, but they're going to bring a much greater breadth of experience and knowledge to the trustee team. And as you'll also see, they're also going to lower the average age of the trustee board considerably. In terms of what we're going to be doing to deliver the strategy, I'm just going to mention a couple of the sort of key work areas. And in terms of Scottish work, or sorry, in terms of our conservation work, Scotland is going to feature quite heavily on this. So we're going to be continuing the monitoring work on northern damselfly, which sort of follows on from the successful project with the Cairngorms National Park to create habitat for this species. And then we're planning a whole series of new initiatives for the other Scottish specialists. So these are going to involve projects working with private landowners, and Danielle is going to be talking to you about her work with the Karori estate a little bit later on, but also with the public sector. And I think one of the really exciting projects that we've got coming up is a new agreement that's been signed with Forestry and Land Scotland, which used to be the Scotland Forestry Commission, which will enable us to input to dragonfly conservation on the significant estate that FLS have across Scotland. So some really exciting projects there that hopefully will make a difference, and also on the landscape scale that Jonathan describes. On the engagement side, a major push from the Society over the next few years is going to be the Dragonfly Hotspot Programme. But in this case, not so much in Scotland, because you've really led the way here in terms of hotspot sites, but we're wanting to expand the number of hotspots that we have both in England and Wales. But we're also going to be working to ensure that we have more regular engagement with all of our hotspot providers across Great Britain. We've also been looking at membership of the Society. We've reviewed membership categories, we've reviewed membership rates, and we will be introducing some minor changes for next year, which hopefully will include a monthly payment option for membership, which is the way a lot of societies are going. But I think also our membership is quite low for a society of our stature, about 2,000 members. And I would personally like to see us have a really big push to increase both our number of members, but also our number of volunteers and supporters in general. And particularly new people from the younger generation. And so we're going to be putting a lot of effort into developing things like our social media program to attract a younger audience to the Society. And at this point, I'd make a plea that if you're not a member of the Society, please think about joining. It's not expensive. It's equivalent to about a cost of a bag of crisps a week, something like that. And every little bit does help. So if you'd like to join us, if you're not already, then please do so. And then finally, just a reminder that it's the Society's 40th birthday this year. So there'll be a whole series of events and activities taking place through the year. So please look out for those and help us celebrate this important anniversary. So that's all from me. I'd just like to conclude by thanking all of you for everything that you do for the Society. It really does make a difference, and enjoy the rest of today, which I'm sure is going to be a really interesting and informative one. Thank you.